I want to start by talking about Microsoft's new handheld that's supposed to be coming out this year, which is surprising. You guys were talking about the code name. I forgot what it is. What's the code name again?
Well, that's the thing. We don't know. What we thought it was Keenan when it was first announced, but there are two N's. So how do you pronounce that? Is it Kenan? Kanan? What was the other one, Gary?
I should ask my wife because she's a reading teacher. She would be able to tell us, but
I
she's
say
not
Kanan,
here.
Kanan.
but that just sounds weird.
It
But when
does.
Jez Corden first reported on it, it was Keenan. Clearly, one N, two E's.
Got it.
And then Tom Warren was like, actually, it's Kanan, or however you pronounce it. And the whole thing just seems really weird. I don't know, it's just odd.
What seems weird about it? Are you still talking about the code name or just in general
The idea for it. It seems it's a very how do you do, fellow kids, with the old man with a skateboard on his back.
Man, am I with you? Am I
Yeah.
with you? Yes. I feel like we're going to be alone on this. What is the like I mentioned before the podcast that I've been unplugged, right? But like what is the general consensus on this thing?
I think that, there's a lot of mixed messaging and it's vague on purpose about what it actually is. The only thing that people know is that they are effectively partnering with ASUS on this to create a PC gaming handheld that is heavily Xbox branded.
But we don't know
That's
that
what
it's
I heard.
ASUS, do we?
That's the rumor, is that it's specifically
yeah.
ASUS. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that it was ASUS. I was understanding that Microsoft wasn't the ones that were making it, but it was going to have an Xbox button, irregardless.
It's Xbox. It's very, very Xbox heavy, to the same credit of this is an Xbox type of thing that they are going towards. Well, so okay, fine, but it's a very I don't, it's weird insofar as that there is nothing from AMD that is exciting this year at all in terms of APUs.
I don't know that we personally, I don't know that I care that it is, oh my gosh, new chip that is going to be faster or whatever. What I really want and what I think will happen is that it will, because it's first off, it's not an Xbox.
No.
I mean, they're
It's
saying
Windows.
it's an Xbox, but it's a Windows PC, and essentially it's going to have Microsoft's new promised UI that
Whatever
is
that is.
controller friendly, which we have been bitching about for years at this point. We've been complaining about the lack of a good controller first interface.
And to be clear, you expect them and have faith in them to deliver on this handheld UI.
Well,
is
that's
what
what
that
I
was-
think that they're trying for. I don't
Right.
know that I expect or have faith that it will happen, but I will be very happy if it does.
But that's my point, right? Is like if there's nothing exciting from a hardware end, the only exciting bit is whatever Microsoft could possibly do on unifying Windows to work correctly on a handheld or couch couch playing, right? Like it's like they're one and the same, right? Whatever you're doing on a controlling Windows with a controller, right? No matter which way you look at this, controlling Windows with a controller, either on a handheld or sitting 10 feet away. If Microsoft can do that. So there's like this vast gulf of vague whatever's going to happen here. At the worst case scenario, we have Game Bar version 2, compact mode, which who cares? And then we have on this end, oh crap, they actually did fix everything. This is dope. That is whatever like our best hope is. Somehow that the Xbox team can come around and corral the Windows team, bypass layers of bureaucracy, say no controller is a first class citizen, X this, Y, and this, we need standby here, screw that, we're gonna do this. That's what we need. Will that happen within 6 months? Like, maybe they've been working on this for a while, right? I don't know. But that's why, if at least it had hardware, you could say, well, that's something to look forward to. But it doesn't have that. And the rumored price of it right now is $500 to $600. So if we were to take that at face value, what are the decisions we can go from here? Is Microsoft subsidizing this in any way with ASUS? Are they giving ASUS any money to help produce this to hit that price point? Regardless if they do that or not, take a look at the Lenovo Legion Go S. the Windows version.
Mm-hmm.
That's $730 for the Z2 Go, which is about 10% worse than the Z1E in
Right.
the Asus Ally and Ally X now. Well, the Ally X, yeah, the Ally X and yeah, the Z1E and the Ally X.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you get 10% less performance. It's going to be $500 to $600, which is prices we've already been able to get on these handhelds. I'm like struggling to find out where that is attractive. So that's where the hardware sits and why that is such like a crappy place to be in, because now they have to hit a home run of software so far that it changes people's minds.
Agreed.
I don't know that it needs to change people's minds. I think that there's a lot of people who are sitting on the sidelines right now who don't have a handheld at all. And like they're fans of Xbox and they are in the Game Pass Xbox ecosystem. And when they pick this up, it's going to feel like if when they pick this up, it feels like an Xbox for those people, that's a win. And I would say that this is, in my opinion, kind of similar to the Steam Deck, where, I mean, if the analysts' forecast or projections are to be believed, where they have sold maybe 5 million units, that's a minuscule, paltry number of systems sold that absolutely dwarfs all the other ones, but still, it's not a lot. But I think Valve would still look at that and say, well, yeah, it's a win for us. It's doing fine. And so for Microsoft to have this thing where they're not really taking the risk, they're just licensing their logo and saying ASUS or whoever, if it's not ASUS, go ahead and make this thing. And we're going to give our new UI on this. I don't think that there's much risk for Microsoft here. And I'm not, as far as the hardware goes, I don't really care. But if the software is good, and then that software also goes upstream and then ends up on all of the other Windows handhelds, or my TV connected to my computer connected to my TV over here, that is a win for everybody who doesn't want to use a mouse and keyboard. And so I'm excited for that, but just that.
I think, yeah. I mean, if they can deliver some sort of handheld first UI, that would be a huge win for everyone. I think at this point, I have very little faith in that. Right? Like, I think it's been years since we asked for this. Carrie did it in a video.
Right.
The box of scripts.
Right.
Right. And Phil is over there like, yeah, we're going to do this for you. And it hasn't happened yet. And so like, maybe eventually it will. But I think the further time goes on, the more to Carrie's point, they have to deliver,
Yes.
The bigger they have to deliver. And at this point, for me personally, a lot of time has gone on. I think what they would have to deliver for me to be impressed at this point has shown to be greater than what they have been doing. One thing I want to point out too, is what I would like to see is just thinking about like people's libraries, right? Like the thing about Steam Deck and why it doesn't necessarily need, and I don't think you were saying otherwise, Bill, but it doesn't necessarily need more than 5 million or whatever, is because people already on PC have these libraries, right? And so similar thing potentially for Xbox, where maybe there are going to be new people building up their library. Maybe these are people that are coming from PC or coming from Game Pass and they don't need to build up the library. But there are, or at least I would think there is the goal to attract people that are already Xbox consumers, as you were alluding to, and you don't have your library unless your library is just Game Pass.
Yeah.
And to a degree, Series S/Series X is pretty much the same as a PC. So like maybe you don't need your library, but one thing I want to point out is emulation, right? Not emulation, backwards compatibility is if they can, what would kill for me personally is if they had Xbox One, really Xbox 360 and OG Xbox backwards compatibility. Those two generations, if they were able to nail backwards compatibility for that on PC, That would be tremendous.
That would be huge, yeah.
Yeah.
When we talk about their software, and I 100% agree, that would be really, really interesting if they could, because it's a PC, it's not an Xbox. And so bringing those Xbox games to the PC,
Exactly.
that would be a very impressive thing, and that would be a big selling point. And I think it would be foolish of Microsoft to limit it to just their hardware. It should just be on PC all the way. As long as you sign into your Xbox account, you get access to that stuff. That would be really cool, and it would really change the conversation, I think.
Oh, yeah, because then it would actually be an Xbox. Not
Right.
just like a vague kind of sort of Xbox as long as you have Game Pass.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I will say my one fear about this thing is that, let's say that Microsoft does solve the UI issue, but they only solve the UI issue for their stupid store that nobody likes using. But then you, like, every time you try and use Steam or Good Old Games or the Epic Game Store or something else, it's like, sorry, it kind of sucks using these things. I guess you have to use a mouse and keyboard, or you got to reach over and hit the touch screen.
Yeah.
That would be dumb.
It would be.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing a boardroom would say, well, we got to make sure that we don't solve that.
Like, yeah, you can. Well, see, like that's the whole thing, right? If you're going to be at Windows at that point, you have to be a partner for everyone else to the nth degree, and that is, without a doubt, Microsoft's clear strength that they've had for 40 years now is that they've been incredible partners with everybody, right? And not preventing anyone from anything. You can, like, Tim Spinney's not suing Microsoft for getting rid of 30% because he just made his own store on PC and just did it, right? Like that's that's what PC is. That's what PC promises. And even for Windows, even though the operating system is closed source, it still is an open platform. Yeah. So you can go wherever you want on there. You're not restricted to it. And this is more or less like why I made the video I did was, we need the controller to be a first-class citizen first, and it needs to be an input that is agnostic to anything else that's running, but you just need to make sense of that and how do you maneuver in there. There's also other things to talk about too, like what is the next generation controller? Does the next generation Xbox controller, the next generation of X input, have gyro built into it? If you have gyro, then you have a mouse pointer. You have a mouse pointer, right? Like, you have ways with newer stuff, and a lot of these handhelds have gyro capabilities in them, so they can already piggyback on other stuff to feed into whatever is the next layer of X input. So there's things there, but that, like, to get there, it seems like they haven't for whatever reason, which is bizarre to me, right? Because Microsoft supported tablets before tablets were even a thing. They supported resistive touchscreens, pen input, generalized pen input. They have all of these different things that could, like, as are acceptable first-class citizens for input. And yet a controller is just like, well, why would you do that? And it's just like, come on, guys. Like, goodness gracious. You do everything else. Why is this such a sticking point? And I don't know. I want to back up just a second because we're talking so much about Microsoft, and on this thing, I kind of feel bad for ASUS in this, right? Because if ASUS is the thing, like, sorry, I feel bad for ASUS, right? This giant conglomerate. But put your feet in there. Like, if you owned ASUS and Microsoft comes up to you and like, we want you to make a thing. Like, okay, it has to be $500 to $600. Like, okay, but we're not going to help pay for anything. Like, so I'm going to compete with myself, make something worse for you guys. Like, what am I getting out of this? Yeah. And they're like, do it. See you later. And you're like, oh, why? I'm going to make my last generation thing, like, in this weird position, right? Like, you're making a new thing that is heavily Xbox focused, that is detracting from your previous gen, where there is no new APU hardware wise. So it becomes this weird mixed messaging that ASUS now has to untie. And it's just, I have no idea what this is, because for me it just feels like, like we don't have an Xbox handheld. We're not going to have it until next year or like late next year. But Switch is coming out. Quick, throw a Hail Mary. And it's like ASUS gets the ball and they're like, huh? What am I doing with this? Run. And like, oh, goodness.
I feel like if the changes, the UI changes, also apply to things like the ROG Ally X, then I think it's just a matter of preference. Especially, I'm almost betting that it's. I don't know if you guys saw. Bob had posted something on Blue Sky. It was 3 different handhelds, and they were essentially identical. And Bob Wolf, if for those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, he had these 3 handhelds sitting on a table, and he said these are 3 different handhelds, and they looked identical. And it just feels like this is going to be the Xbox version of that, and that's I find that to be perfectly fine. And if it's made by ASUS and they're going to be the ones that are making the money from the sale, I don't see why they would be sad about that, because it's not really, yes, it's competing, but they're making money on both things. It's like if Dell is making, it's like if Dell is making a computer and they're like, well, you could buy this Dell or you could buy that Dell. I don't think Dell gives a shit which one you end up buying. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think, though, to combine your 2 points, Bill and Carrie, like, Bill, you were saying earlier that, like, this is great for Microsoft because it's very little risk for them, right?
Yeah.
But on the flip side, if that's true, then it might be very big risk for ASUS. Like, maybe they have to have very tight margins, but not just the tight margins, but like even though maybe it is perfectly fine to have multiple different models, which they already have, right? Like they have at least 2, but really then the configurations, but that is still something to navigate marketing wise, to have like multiple models. So like that's work for ASUS. Do they mind? I mean, like, I think if they took the deal, they don't mind. It's a big corporation, as Gary started to allude to. So, like, yeah, I think they're big boys. They'll be fine. But from my perspective, has been kind of more from a consumer perspective. I haven't. I mean, it's early. It's way early. I just haven't seen what, as a consumer, I'm supposed to be excited about yet.
Yeah, I mean, so let's imagine that the hardware comes out, and it's essentially the ROG Ally X with an Xbox button and a good interface. And that interface goes to other Windows handhelds. I don't care about the hardware. I just care about the software. And that's what Microsoft is. They are a software company.
Sure.
Yes, they make hardware, and somebody might be like, well, they have the Surface. I
think the
always
Surface
look
line
at
is over.
Yeah, it's over.
I think
The
so.
Surface Book specifically.
Yeah.
But Surface
okay.
Pro, they're still, right? They're still pumping out those, right?
Let me double check, because I saw something and I was like, oh, okay, because I know Panos Panay left.
Oh, well, Microsoft makes hardware, but they don't care if you buy their hardware to use Windows or if you buy somebody else's hardware to use Windows. They just want you to use Windows. So this is just giving people options. And if that means that, the people who are huge fans of Xbox, they see a thing with an Xbox logo and they're like, hot damn, this is what I've been waiting for. Then you know what? Good for them. But for the rest of us who don't have brand loyalty, and I'm not speaking for anybody on the channel or on the panel here, but for people who don't have brand loyalty, as long as we get to reap the benefits of good software, hooray for us, as far as I'm concerned.
Any predictions on how it sells compared to the PS Portal?
Compared to the PS Portal?
To the PS Portal specifically.
How many PS Portals were sold?
I want to say 2 million, but I don't think they gave us numbers, right? So I what were you going to say?
No, I have no numbers because I haven't seen any numbers. I just remember reading something, and I don't remember if I'm reading incorrectly, but I thought like PlayStation was just kind of like globbing Portal and PS5 hardware sales like just together. Like we sold like 20 million.
I just
units.
Googled it and it said 2 million units sold, which is about 3% of their install base, but that was Google's AI slop. So
okay,
who knows
I don't remember
accurate.
where I heard the 2 million number myself. I did a Google, and this is apparently the sources.
I love that.
I did a Google.
The premier search engine that we all used to know and love. Now we don't trust a word that comes out of it. Like,
no, certainly not. If
bullshit.
it's AI summarized, heck no.
No.
Man, those guys don't care.
But to answer your question,
Rest in peace.
how many does it sell compared to, say, the PS Portal? Well, you look at all of the Windows handhelds. We're talking about the ROG Ally, the Ally X, the Lenovo Legion Go. All of those in the past, since the Steam Deck came out, I think that the analyst predicted, or not predicted, but posited that they sold roughly 2 million units total of all of them.
Really?
Right.
Because I saw 8 million total, and then Steam Deck was 4 or 5 million.
So we have 3 years of data. The fourth year is projected. They're projected to sell another 2 million
I got
handhelds this
Total.
year. So far it's been 6 million that
I follow.
it's been 6
all
million,
handhelds.
and 4 to 5 of those have been the Steam Deck. So
I see.
it's not
Up
a
to
lot
2
of
million.
Windows handhelds. Yeah.
Right, yeah, it's a small amount.
So you think it should be in less than 2 million within a couple years?
Way less. Oh, in a couple years?
Yeah, let's say 2 years.
So, okay, I'm going to say probably 1 million.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, sounds like less than the PS Portal, which I would agree with.
Yeah. Half the install base of the PS Portal,
Yeah.
which just got an upgrade, by the way. Like, you can now play
Cloud games,
PS1 classic games streaming to it from...
Streaming.
Yeah, I know
So
it's streaming.
close, so
it's
close,
a streaming
so
device. What do you
close.
want?
It's PS1. You could do it. Come on. If all they needed was the SD card and native PS1, and if they had Wi-Fi 6, that would have been good too.
Yes.
You're going to need
I-
Wi-Fi
look-
6 for PlayStation 1 games.
You're right, Carrie. You're right.
That's awesome.
I say this as someone that I still enjoy my PS Portal. I like it. So I think that they shortchanged it, right? Like Sony shortchanged it. Like they could have done more. And they're clearly showing that they could have done more, right? Because they're doing more after the fact. But I still like the device. I still play Astrobot on it. It's good.
When was the last time you played it?
About a month ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's sooner than I would have expected.
Yeah.
Like I would have expected you to say about 3-4 months ago or something like that.
I don't think I've played on my PS5 natively, like just play on my PS5 like in a while. Like if I play it, it's going to be on the Portal usually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it.